We are speaking today with Pat Boylan, CEO and Chairman of Berks Packing, right in Reading,
Yes,
down by the river. Pat, thank you for the time today.
quite welcome.
Tell me a little bit about what you do here at Berks Packing.
Well, we're primarily in the sausage manufacturing business, having gotten out of the slaughtering business in 1967. That was our main business down here, slaughtering. But I didn't see a future in slaughtering, and I wanted to get out of slaughtering and just be in manufacturing of sausage. That's anything that's stuffed into a casing, hogs, or hot dogs, kielbasa, Polish sausage, and the manufacturing of smoked meats, hams, bacon, everything else connected with the manufacturing of processed meats. This plant was not big enough to just slaughter and manufacture, so one had to go, and the slaughtering disappeared.
Why did you think there's more, why did you make that choice?
Well, because we didn't have to slaughter in order to be a manufacturer, as so many people did. We could buy all this meats from somebody that solely slaughtered just to make the sausage.
Okay, so the business became a little more specialized over time.
Specialized, right. And that opened up our future tremendously since 1967. We had a lot more room. We had to devote a lot of room to the storage of livestock once we got it in from the West, Chicago stockyards or Lancaster stockyards. And we didn't have the space then to do the processing that I wanted to do, the manufacturing and the processing.
So ending the slaughtering gave you more room to devote to manufacturing.
Absolutely.
What kind of things were you able to do then?
Well, we wanted to make hot dogs. We wanted to make sausage.
So buy more equipment.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Very expensive equipment for processing and manufacturing.
Who are your competitors in the industry today?
Well, almost everybody you can think of, nationwide and locally. We have Armour, Swift, Wilson, Hatfield, Kunzler, Dietz and Watson. Of those remaining competitors, Hatfield is the biggest. He still slaughters. I guess you've heard of Hatfield. They slaughter hogs and manufacture.
Sure.
They can't buy enough hogs in the open market, so they raise their own hogs, just like turkey producers do. They raise their hogs and then slaughter them. So he is a full-line packer, that is, slaughters and manufactures and processes.
Does that give him a competitive advantage? Or
No, not necessarily, because the livestock industry, the slaughtering industry, is very competitive, and it's tough. I'm just glad we're not in it,
Right.
or we wouldn't be in business today if we were slaughtering.
So all those players, what do you do to stand out? How do you establish yourself?
Well, we buy from Hatfield because he kills the hogs, and we buy those items from him that we need to make hot dogs or bacon or ham. Now we also buy from other companies that do nothing but slaughter,
Right.
cattle and hogs.
So all these
are shipped in here.
all these hot dog makers and bologna makers, what do you do to separate yourself from all the competition?
Well, we like to think we make the best hot dog around.
And how do you make that case?
Well, because back in the 1980s, we went into what was called total quality control, TQC. And at that point, we were one of the first in the country to get in total quality control.
It's a manufacturing process.
Process.
Be more efficient and streamline operations.
And we had the Secretary of Agriculture come up, Carol Foreman at that time, to wish us well in this new venture, total quality control. Then a lot of other packers, who did not have to get into it, got into it, simply because it enhanced our manufacturing process.
So do you compete on price? Do you
Oh yes, definitely on price. Definitely.
Do you come in at a lower price point on some of these other regional national players?
Well, we don't like to do that too much. One of our biggest customers right now is Wawa. I guess you all heard of Wawa.
Sure.
Wawa was a dairy farmer back around the Civil War, and they just had dairy products, cattle, milking, and then they got into the gasoline business. And with the gasoline business, they thought it would be good to have sandwiches for customers who came in for gas. And they needed somebody to make their hoagies, and that was Berks Packing. So we now service 650 Wawa stores on the East Coast.
Are you trying to build other relationships with some of these other regional convenience store chains?
Oh, we have all those too. We're interested in all. We were interested in the military. We can only do so much. We could do about 750,000 to £1,000,000 a week of manufactured products. We can't do any more unless we expand.
Okay. Are you thinking about expanding?
We are, if we have the business, you know, and a lot of that has dried up today.
What are the jobs here like? The jobs, the majority of the jobs. I think in one of my questions to you earlier, I asked you about the safety of meatpacking.
We have two unions here. We have the Teamsters and we have the United Food and Commercials Workers, UFCW, and they do all the processing and manufacturing. And of course we have the white collar jobs, which are the office people and the other people that does that. But I think there's about 75 UFCW employees here at the time and about 15 to 20 Teamsters. So we have the two unions here. And every pound of meat that comes in here has to go through their hands in one shape or form or another. The formulating of products, the stuffing, the smoking, the chilling, and naturally the slicing of the product, which is what we do for Wawa.
Right.
Because when they started their hoagie business, they used to slice all the luncheon meats that we prepared in log form.
Right.
They didn't want any parts of that. They said, we're getting out of that and you're going to do it. So that required the purchase of slicing equipment, very expensive equipment that comes from Germany. Germans are always known as sausage maker and high performance equipment.
Right.
So we bought enough equipment to satisfy their needs.
You mentioned when we talked on the phone the other day that you did something that the city recognized you for.
As you come off the Bingham Street Bridge, that's the largest bridge in the city of Reading, more so than the Penn Street Bridge, because they're coming from southeastern Pennsylvania, Lancaster, they're coming up from Morgantown, they're coming up off the turnpike,
right.
And they exit on the Bingham Street Bridge and go up Laurel Street. And at the foot of the Bingham Street Bridge, there's about a 6-acre plot of ground that had a lot of weeds growing, and the neighbors didn't like that, so the city approached us and asked us if we would undertake to beautify it. We said yes.
And so what did that become?
Well, they planted flowers there and bushes there too. You're not going to see it until the spring when those flowers start to develop, but the city doesn't have to undertake that anymore. That's a responsibility of Berks Packing Company.
So you're gonna keep up with.
Oh yes, oh yes. Now the same thing happens at the foot of Second and Penn when you come off the Penn Street Bridge, but a much smaller plot of ground there. The city is taking care of that.
Let me ask you one more question about the business. We're in a time now where there's a lot of talk about obesity and healthy eating, and what's your take on what the implications of that are for people in your line of work? Primarily,
America is a meat-eating country. We like to sit down to something with meat, although fish is good and popular. But whether it's a hot dog, it's a hoagie, it's a ham, it's bacon, because we're a rural country, and we raise a lot of cattle and hogs, and that has to be consumed. So in one form or another. So that's the way we got into the sausage manufacturing business.
So we're a meat-eating country, always have been, and in your view, always will be.
Well, certainly you can't eat too much fat and not have it become part of your weight problem. So you have to regulate that. But that's not just because you're eating a hot dog doesn't mean you're going to get fat. You got to do a little exercise along with it, and eat other.
Moderation.
Moderation is key.
We'll let that be the last word. Thank you, Pat.
Okay, you're quite welcome.